Hello, my name is Elaine Stafford and you're very welcome to KPMG's podcast Conversations with Auditors, the podcast where we explore the relevant issues, opportunities and new ways of working that are shaping the future of the profession. Today I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague Niall Savage. Niall is an audit partner with over 20 years experience and is our current Head of Audit Markets. Niall, thanks for joining us today.
God, Elaine, that was incredibly slick. Well done, and congratulations on the series to date.
Thank you very much.
I really enjoyed listening to them, particularly Una Curtis's one. It was great to be listening to Una's voice, not in complete fear of what she was going to ask me, because for years Una would have always led the IFRS training, but also pre-issuance reviews. So there was always that moment where she'd ask the one question you didn't want to hear, but it was lovely to hear her voice in that sense. Yeah.
On any of the others, any tokens of wisdom or nuggets of information that you'd take away?
I was glad you said that. I'd take away no wisdom from me, but I really liked Conor Holland's ES and G podcast. I thought it was really good. He really broke it down, to timelines and the metrics. And I think a lot of that discussion has been missing from the ESG reporting so far. A lot of it has been about it's coming. It's a big standard. It's the new IFRS. But it was nice to hear him have a little bit of practicality and say things like there is 12 standards. The first thing you need to do is have a materiality assessment and then do a gap analysis and then understand exactly what's relevant for you, which I think is really what businesses now want to hear. I think the fear factor is well out there, but now they want, okay, can I get some practical steps? Tell me what I got to do here. So I thought that was really good. So I think if anyone hasn't really got into it yet, it'd be a really good place to start. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think he really broke it down that day and made it really simple. And he even referred himself to alphabet soup. That struck home with me because there was just so many acronyms out there.
Absolutely. And for someone who's listened to Conor for the last 24 months or so, I'm glad he did reference the fact that there's been a lot of alphabet soup because we've been all listening to it as well,
I'm delighted to have you here today, Niall, with us. I'm hoping to get some nuggets of wisdom from you today that you've gained over your many years of experience. And to kick things off, we might talk a little bit about audit and how it's evolved over the course of your career.
Thanks. Yeah, Elaine, I'd like to say I'm a very young man in my early 40s before we start. So I started auditing back in 2001 in a small department called BDS. And when you talk about evolution, I mean, if I could paint a picture for what it was like back then, it was a different world. It was all paper files. I think the first job I did was for Colin O'Brien when I had to send a fax. Which anything now would be sent by email. There was very little email back then. In fact, if you're out on client site, getting even an email connection was incredible. All the files were in paper. In fact, the first and second years, what they mostly did was format Excel spreadsheets and print, which was just a wonderful learning experience. So if you benchmark that to where we are today and where we should be in the future, today, there are no paper files. There's no paper. There's no fax. Thank God. I got the first fax I sent wrong as well, which was quite embarrassing. We're all collaborating in the cloud. We can communicate internationally in seconds. The technology that's in audit then in the actual files itself is just fantastic. We're taking entire data sets now, working with large volumes of data, and we're picking out the outliers as opposed to totting them up, which is what we did 20 years ago. So it really is a totally different career, and it has been so enjoyable to be on that journey. But also when you tell people how far it's come and how far you think it might go, you can reference back to how far it's come. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And to be honest, when I joined, those paper files were there, Niall, and I think I spent my first week archiving a whole lot of them.
You're a hell of a lot younger than me, obviously, Elaine, but yeah, I do remember the blues and the yellows, I think they were called back then, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if we think about technology then, I think that there is, there's a lot of focus on us as auditors advancing our technology, particularly given our own clients, like they're innovating.
Yeah.
What do you think the benefits for the audit profession is out of this technology? And not maybe just for the audit profession, but for our clients. What benefits do they get out of it?
Yeah, technology could do so much, and it hasn't really done everything we think it could do. And certainly, I thought we'd be further along the journey now, but you always do. The first part is audit quality is number one. Do we identify frauds? Are the financial statements true and fair? Are they given it right view? Are they given the right level of comfort to shareholders? And technology will definitely improve that. It improves it by allowing you work with the larger groups of data. It allows you to take remote data internationally, which is a hotspot for things like frauds. It allows you to collaborate with people much better. It stops the guessing, I suppose, of sampling, and allows you to move into working with large data, focusing on the areas that are important as opposed to just vouching transactions, which a lot of auditing used to be. Also, as business has changed, our clients are now using technology much better, and we need to have the technology to use their technology. And also they're expanding. You're now working with multinational corporations that are just so much bigger than they were 20 years ago. They are using information much quicker. They're not as siloed. They've centers of excellence, and we need to be able to follow them and mirror how they're set up to make sure we can give a view on their information. So that's number one. And I think it's just, there's a part of it that says we have to keep up with how clients are going to be able to express a view on their financials. And then I think for the clients, the second part really is, can you give them insights? And do they want insights? And not all clients will, because they're running at 1,000 miles an hour themselves. So you can give more with the information you have. We always say we're incredibly privileged that clients give us so much access to their information, and having this information and having great technology, we can certainly give them more, be it predictive analytics, to say, well, actually, your commercial margin have come under pressure in the last couple of months in a certain region. That is an area you want to look at, whether it's by looking at hedging transactions. You can predict areas where they might have an overhedge or an underhedge. All of that can be done really well with technology. And then you take it away from the clients and you say, well, the enjoyable nature of audit, right? I love auditing. I really do. I'm doing it. I will be doing it for the rest of my career, I hope. But it, the world of work has moved on. It's quicker. We want people to be doing less of the mundane routine transaction testing. And I think technology has already solved that, but it's just not endemic in the auditing environment, really, because you can't use it with all data. So the future of auditing at a first part for our people is, you should be able to be taking the data out of the client system, having all the vouching done, be comfortable with the sort of financial reporting ecosystem, and then you're into the value adding stuff, spotting trends, picking out outliers, and less of making sure it all ties back. And that'd be great. And that's what we need to get to our people. I think the top 5% of clients can get there, but I think until client data is ready as well, I think, we can't really do everything we want to do.
No, absolutely. I think that insights piece is key.
Yeah.
I think that piece of, the totting and tying, we want to be able to let technology do that first and spend our time looking at the estimates and the judgments and adding the value. So you're absolutely right, Niall.
Yeah.
And if we think then about climate change, right, and the global challenge it brings, it's not just a challenge for the audit professional, it's a global challenge, and it's probably our biggest challenge for the next decade. There's lots of discussion about decarbonisation, the road to net zero, and companies are really having to step up to the challenge now. And we mentioned there at the start, when Conor joined me, we talked about the vast array of the ESG standards and regulations that are coming at companies. How do you see the audit profession fit into all of this?
Yeah. Well, I think first off, the profession has been given a huge vote of confidence, because it has been asked effectively and is preparing to take its skill set and apply it to non-financial metrics, be it ESG metrics. And, watch Conor's pod and you'll see the whole range of things that need to be sort of assured. So that's a huge vote of confidence for the profession, and being part of that profession, I think it's very exciting, because what gets measured gets managed. And I think once corporates are in the space that they're going to start producing data around water usage, carbon usage, equality metrics, then you'll see a real driver of change in corporates. There already is, but I do think it'll highlight areas that need to be acted upon. And for audit to be allowed and to be looking forward to, and I think we all are, get involved in that shift and change is brilliant. And I think I always felt audit has a great role in society. Like our job, if you want meaning in your job, you are making sure that when investors invest money in a business, it's being well looked after, it's generating an economic return. And now we're being given the opportunity to step outside that role and say, well, actually, now we're going to be governing whether companies are behaving well, or providing a view on whether companies are behaving well for the good of the climate, for the good of society. And I think that's a wonderful gift to be given to the profession. And I think it's going to be fantastic. What it'll mean, first off, there's going to be a huge lift at the start, because I liken it to when IFRS came in back in, I think it was 2003, 2004, and there was just a heavy lift in converting financial statements from what we used to call happy-gappy to IFRS. And so there was a huge need for specialisms and one-off pieces of work to do the transitions. And I think in 2025, 2026, 2027 even, and a little bit of, a lot of prep before that, teams will need to go in and help clients capture the data, understand how they can get at it, understand how they can get it to a form where it's usable and auditable. So I think that is going to be keeping everyone very busy for the next 3 to 5 years. And the interesting thing, as Conor rightly pointed out, like, we're going to be going down to, businesses at 40 million turnover are going to have to do this. Like that's big, trying to isolate what part of this is relevant. So all audit teams are going to have to get involved. I think there's going to be some very deep specialists at the start before it's sort of common and business as usual. But it's going to be a big shift now for the next few years, and all the firms are gearing up. We all know it's there. We're all kind of excited by the fact that we're getting to be involved in it, but it is coming, yeah.
Very good. And I think it kind of links in with the ways that we can add value. It's something different that we're doing, providing insights on, and looking at that forward-looking piece and looking at not the numbers, but what's going on in the actual business.
Absolutely. And there is a huge amount of talk, when you're talking to young graduates coming in, and the best graduates, they do want meaning in their work, and they're absolutely right, they should. And sometimes we struggle to articulate why the work is so meaningful. We just know it is. But audit has always been about finding the truth and reporting back and making sure, so you have a real purpose in what you're doing. And this just adds to that, because, as I said, you're not only serving shareholders now and the investor community, you're now actually society as a whole and the planet, so I mean, it sounds, audit is going to save the world, and I wouldn't be leading with that, but it does feel like you're moving into a new role, and I think it is a great vote of confidence in the profession to get that chance.
Absolutely. You touched on people there, Niall, and over the course of your career, I'm sure you've seen many people come and go through the doors of KPMG, and many in fact stay. And I know we talked about technology and how it can improve audit quality, but I think people really are instrumental to ensuring a quality audit is delivered to our clients. What do you think the best skills or qualities are of an auditor?
Yeah, I remember Conall O'Halloran always used to say, and I used to think a lot about these things, audit is a mindset. I think he is right. I think you have to have a very curious mind and want to solve a problem and understand where there might be an outlier. And that is the first quality in an auditor. And you do see, when you first maybe work with a first or second year, and they've explained that they found an issue or they found a problem, and you can see that they haven't let it go, and you can also see it's kind of bugging them. Mm-hmm. That's what we really want to see. And it's that curious mindset that I think is probably the first thing you need if you want to really thrive in the profession, that you pick up things that don't make sense and you find an answer or not, and if you don't find the answer, then you throw it back. But that's the first quality. There are so many other things that are helpful as well. You've got to be organised. Mm-hmm. We all know attention to detail is everything. Nice neat files, Elaine, as we all like. But it's that curious mindset and the ability to sort of say, "Ooh, geez, that doesn't look right now." That for me is always the one that sets apart the people who you kind of say, he or she is a good little auditor there, make sure they get on some really good work now that challenges them, because you can actually tell that they have the right mindset or the right mentality to do the job, because it's an important job,
Yeah, absolutely. That questioning mindset.
Key. Yeah. And there is a little bit about, in a nice, respectful, client-friendly way, being able to ask the third question. Like, don't stop after one. Ask the second and the third, and then if you're still not happy, you might just leave it there for a while and come back. But it's usually when you didn't get happy, that's usually when there was the problem.
Absolutely. And for any of our listeners out there that are perhaps considering a career in auditing, what advice would you give them?
I love my job. I'm lucky that I do. I really enjoy it. Very lucky that coming out of college in 1999, originally went off and did a master's, that I found a job in a place to work that I really love. I think auditing is a profession and it's a career, and it's, accounting and auditing is a profession and a career. You do get to travel the world. Your brain will be engaged, and there may be times you think, when you're grinding through an audit file or whatever, is my brain engaged? It is. And it's only when you step outside, and I did step outside for a year or two, that you realize how demanding a profession is, in a good way, because it does constantly engage the brain. You always get to work with the best and the brightest, either on the client side and, either the associates coming in my case as it is, or the people managing you. And you thrive off those people because you're in kind of an organization where just everyone is always bright and wanting to do well, and that really challenges and drives you on, but it also gives you energy.
It does.
And that's the bit. You could point out to all the hygiene factors, say it's a very well paid profession once you rise through past that training contract, of course. You do get to travel. You can do opportunities outside if you want. You can step off and do a couple of out of the box experiences. I've done a few in my time in KPMG. And you'll meet loads of friends and loads of people, but you'll do that in a lot of jobs as well. But it offers an awful lot, and for any graduate coming out of college at the moment, the one thing you can say is, you will not waste the 3.5 years, because you learn so much about business. You'll have an international qualification that you go travel the world on anyway, and then if you really enjoy it, you might stay on and for the next 20 years and really enjoy the firm as well. So it's very little downside to doing it, I think.
I agree. Some might say both of us are biased, but anyway.
Well, we both followed a similar pattern, Elaine. But yeah. I think the real value comes when you're in the firm a long time. You can probably, having seen so many clients and so many associates and so many DMs, you really can look and see what a rewarding career it is as well. And I suppose by the time you get to your level and potentially my level, you're interacting with clients at a certain level as well, where you're having really fulfilling conversations and bringing real value too.
Absolutely. And I think it's also fair to say, Niall, that even for people that perhaps don't want a career in audit for their life,
heaven forbid,
it gives them a really good foundation.
Absolutely.
Like a bedrock for being able to go on and do other things afterwards.
100%. I mean, as I said, there's two sides to it. One, you get the exams and the qualifications, and they're really good practical exams. Never mind the fact that it's a great tick to have on your what used to be a CV. It's now your LinkedIn profile. And then you get to learn from either the people you're working with or the clients you're exposed to as well, which is brilliant. Yeah.
And I think the pandemic has probably changed the way it isn't a probable, it has changed the way we work. And I think our profession, we do work very well on that hybrid model. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think we're probably just perfectly suited to working hybrid. I think the hybrid working really suits the auditing profession. It certainly suits what we do in KPMG. I think you got to get the balance right. And do we have all the answers? Absolutely not. But I do know that at certain levels of the organisation, you need to be a little bit more because you're doing an awful lot more learning. We always used to say 70% of your learning comes from other people. So I do think that. But it means that you can balance being out on site, being in the office, working from home, absolutely. And then the longer you're in the organisation, and I'm not saying you're learning less, but you've less formalised or structured learning to do, you have a far better balance to your working day where you pretty much are in control of it. You've got to spend time with your teams, got to spend some time with your clients, but definitely a lot of the work you can do, pretty much from anywhere in the world, to be honest with you. So I think it does really suit that hybrid environment well. I'd hate to think we'd lose the right meetings to have people with, but I don't think we have. I think we've done that well. I think a lot of our judgment and gut has told us, I think we need to be in for that, or I think we need to be on site for that. And that'll build with time as well.
I think so.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And maybe to wrap things up then, Niall, if we look out 5 years from now, do you think audit as we know it today will be unrecognisable?
No, I don't. I think we'll continue to evolve. I would love to think we'll be where I thought we'd be today, whereby you sort of plug a machine into the client's machine, every client, the data comes out, it gets formatted, and you're ready to analyze the data. The Selwyn Hearns used to say, go sieving the river as opposed to fishing in it, that famous analogy. I think we should be there. Like, we have seen the technology that does it, but there is a lag. Client data has to be there. Regulators have to be totally comfortable, and we're a heavily regulated industry, and that's right. For us to get to that point where we're not producing leads, we're not tying stuff out, that those exceptions are part of another report and we're sort of working on outliers. I hope we're there in 5 years, and if we are, that's a game changer, and I think we should be. So I think the data prep side versus the data verification or the analysis side should be there in 5 years. I think that'll be game changing and very different. And then you're trying to understand, will blockchain and ChatGPT, how much will that revolutionize us in the next 5 years? And it goes back to the point about the mindset of the people. I think the people will always have to be working with the data, assessing the risks, understanding what's an estimate, understanding the industry well enough to say, and understanding the client well enough to say, actually, that doesn't look right, or that isn't. So I think in 5 years' time, I'm hoping there will be even less of the mundane transaction vouching, and it may be that there are smaller teams doing more value-adding work in terms of risk identification, looking at complex areas. But do I think it's going to be radically different? I don't think the pace of change will be like that. I do hope it is where I thought it would be today.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd agree with you. I don't think it's going to be an extreme pace of change.
No.
But I think the trick is probably not to become complacent, because whatever is cutting edge technology today, absolutely, tomorrow, that's the past. So.
Oh, absolutely. I think we do have great line of sight. Like, when we think about, like we knew when cloud-based was coming in, we knew 3 years we were going that direction. Ultimately, we'll be going there. We'll know the collaboration tools. I think we know the tools that are out there. I mean, we've put Data Snipper into the power of our team's hands now. That's been great. We know that there are good data extraction tools. It's getting the efficiencies and making sure they can work with a sufficient scale of clients. We know there are absolutely brilliant dynamic risk assessment programs, great ways of analysing data. We just need to make them ubiquitous and make clients comfortable with them as well, and actually make sure that, from a regulator's perspective, it delivers the same, high level of regulatory confidence that the current audit process does. But those things take time.
I agree. Well, Niall, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a really enjoyable session having you here.
Well, it's really enjoyable to be here. Yeah, best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our listeners for listening today. If you have a question on any of the topics discussed here today, please feel free to reach out to myself, Niall, or your usual KPMG contact. Thank you.